gonna be a hot day today. Not the best way or day to dyno tune a car. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna have some fun doing it. Today the question is whether or not my cams, let's get this camera around, with stock heads will outperform smaller cam profile with highly ported heads. That's the question. Is it gonna work? I don't know. My goal for this car initially was really fast spool. And I wanted a really fat mid-range. Well, the customer wanted really fat mid-range, and I want what the customer wants, right? For the most part. And so he wanted really fast spool, big fat mid-range, good torque, good horsepower, you know, what everybody wants, right? And so I said, well, let's do, and I gave him a whole list of shit. One of the key parts of the recipe, in my opinion, was the second generation GTX 3076. It's a good turbo. It rips. Really good turbo. I like it a lot. And so I said, let's start with that. And let's do a small cam profile like the Kelford Bs, the 220B in this case, because it's a quad 80 CS STI V8 chassis. And then we had the heads ported. And that was the mistake. So Matt, that was the mistake. Anytime you increase the volume in your ports, in your exhaust, or anything between the turbo and the engine, you reduce the spool. So we overport the heads. I mean, they made the power, but the turbo did not come in nearly as fast as we wanted. We also used the black intake manifold because I've seen, or I've personally had great results with the black plastic super intake manifold spooling on large turbos like 700 RPM faster than the regular STI manifold. So we did this whole custom build, and honestly, it's pretty sweet. And the porting hurt us. I mean, for power-wise, it hurt us. But for the ultimate goal of having a turbo spool really fast, it hurt us. With the porting, it knocked the spool back to be closer to what it would have been on the stock manifold with stock ports. So we really didn't get necessarily a gain with the black plastic manifold that we wanted. And often the porting benefits, large cams and porting benefit from a larger plenum, like the black plastic manifold has. But the larger runners can be, you know, one way or the other based on all those other parameters, right? Building a car is, or an engine, is much about balance as about anything else. You gotta have parts that accent other parts. And everything in the build accented or targeted a fat mid-range, fast spool and everything, except the porting. So I said, next time we do this, let's change it up. Well, next time came a lot faster than we planned because on a really cold day with people in the car, it spiked over 30 PSI and lifted the heads. That was another thing about the build. Once it hit its efficiency range, it was insane. This car was hard to bring the torque down. I was trying to run 28 pounds of boost on it, and it would do it. Like 45, 4,700 RPM, it hit 28 pounds of boost. But the torque was tremendous. And I pulled timing down so far on this thing that it was misfiring with so little timing. Couldn't figure out any way to drop the torque anywhere, but the torque was still really high. We had like 650 or 600 something foot-pounds of torque to the wheels on an R dyno. Stupid, right? And then the horsepower was 572, way more than we planned on, and the block was still open deck with factory-sized head studs. And I said, bro, like, we're gonna lift the heads. Like, there's just no way about it. You know, it's gonna happen. And unfortunately, it happened only a few weeks after we got it done. So we said, for build 2, we're gonna change the cam profile. And we're gonna do closed deck and half-inch head studs, which we did. So the car now has half-inch head studs and a closed deck, and that's gonna be great because I should lift the heads. But unfortunately, when his heads lifted, it also cut them. It like steam cuts them or plasma jets them basically. And wasted the head, wasted the block, but don't give a fuck about the block. And unfortunately, the head's reported by somebody who's no longer with us. For those who know Kurt Brown, he was a legend. He was the nicest guy. He was an asset to the community and our industry. Kurt Brown was an amazing guy, and he was doing all our boarding for us for the last handful of years. And these heads reported by Kurt. So sadly, the head got wrecked, and so the last thing I had done by him no longer exists, and that really breaks my heart. And yeah, it really sucks. But rest in peace, Kurt. Miss you, buddy. But we placed the heads with factory heads, factory valve size, no porting, and put my cams in it. So the car is going from a ported, medium-sized cam, ported head, medium-sized cam, call for 220Bs, to my much larger cam and stock ports. So the question is, am I going to get that spool back that we wanted in the first place? How much faster is it going to spool, if at all? The stock port should spool the turbo quite a bit quicker than the old setup, but I got a bigger cam in it. And how's that going to affect it? So that's what we're going to do today. I have my assumptions of what I think is going to happen, and we're going to put it to the test. So nothing else in the car has been changed. The geometry of everything is the same pistons and rods and crankshaft as his old engine. It's just my build twice. But this time, bigger head studs, closed deck, my cam, stock ports. Everything else is the same. Same fuel system, same, manifolds, they take an exhaust, the whole fucking thing. It's all the same. So what's gonna happen today? I don't know. So I'm gonna hook my laptop up. We just finished strapping the car down. I'll turn the camera on here in a second so you can see the car instead of my big swollen ass head. They said work out, get gains. And my face just got bigger. Looks like I'm taking a shit or something, grunting. So I did start working out because I was getting fat. And so far all it's done is make me fatter. All right. Try to turn this camera on. All right, this is Josh. DZ Can't Drive, I think is what his screen name is on YouTube. You see him trolling me in all my posts because that's what Josh does. Just a big troll that we all love. He looks like a troll too. No, I'm just kidding. I gotta get him back. He's in here somewhere. So, what is it? It's a 15 STI. And unfortunately, you can't zoom out on these goddamn phones anymore than this. It's a 15 STI. It has the HKS Legamax. I love this exhaust. If I had a VA or GR, that's the exhaust I would have. The Legamax is awesome. It's full 3-inch. It has resonators. It has Helmholtz resonators in it. It's got 2 mufflers. Flows a lot of air. Doesn't make a lot of noise. And as an old guy, I love that. It's got stupid fucking mud flaps that I hate, and I would tear off if it was my car. In fact, I hate them so much, I just grab them and rip them off and damage the fucking body doing it, but it's not my car, I can't do that. Under the hood, this is what we got. First off, look at the scoop. Something looks funny in there, doesn't it? You may have seen this car before. That's not the intercooler, that's a top mount oil cooler. I got the probe in that right now because I want to see what the oil temps do during the tune for a little bit. And then I got to move that to the final power numbers because those temps just skew the weather station a little bit and we can't have that happen. What we did is we modified the factory bezel scoop thing. My brain's totally kind of a fucking block right now. And then you see it's open right here because this intercooler pipe comes by. And this angle, this curve, like that, follows in there we go. But that's a little bit here. See, there's a little bit open right there. That's to help get a little air to the turbo, past the turbine housing and blows air down and out of the engine bay. But then this ducts all the scoop air to the oil cooler. So when he does his track days, he's gonna have good oil temps. You see we have the black plastic manifold on here. It's not rotated or anything. It's a normal factory location. Some custom pipes. It's a Cobb front mount kit that we modified and then powder coated, obviously modified. That make this whole hose here because this normally goes to the center, right? Tier 1 rotated kit made by Garris, G&O Fab. The GTX 3076 Gen 2. And everything is custom. 4FTY fuel pressure regulator right in front of us. Beautiful regulator. In my opinion, best regulator on the market. If you don't have a 4FTY, you probably have an Aeromotive or a Fuel Lab. And I'm sorry, you're missing out. This is the regulator to have, hand model. That's the regulator to have right there. It is number one. Number one! Right there, 4FTY. Greatest regulator ever built. IAG TG deletes, stock heads, still retains all the ABCS. Nice fluid damper because no one likes harmonics. And then again, closed deck, IAG closed deck, half-inch studs. The block itself, and then obviously we did the internals. Factory crank, my rods, and then JE pistons. Got some inlet. What else we got? Intake air temp sensor for full speed density. Obviously, you gotta have proper intake air temp readings. We got that, and that's it. Like, it doesn't look crazy fancy. It's got some good stuff. It's clean. There aren't a bunch of lines and hoses running everywhere like a lot of these Subarus. No wire harness shit. Lane spent a lot of time getting this to look good with all the harness and the wiring and stuff. He did a good job. IAG AOS. And that's it. There we have it. Now, how's it run? It's great. Mark. Oh yeah, you probably came in a little late to the stream here. I like faster spool on turbos. And the whole purpose of this build was to spool fast, have a lot of torque, big fat mid-range, and drive really well. And that manifold spools way faster than the STI manifold that this car came with. Oops, I forgot to select his name on the dyno here. Let me double check the registration real quick. Okay. Gotta get his on here. There we go. All right. Oh, my arm is killing me. So we're running ethanol. I don't imagine the two's gonna need a lot of work. The VE map is obviously gonna be a little different at idle and cruise, and even on top ends, the cams are a different size. How much different? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know yet. I did change the VE at idle a little bit on a preemptive tune for the break-in, where I pulled the wastegate duty cycle out and did all the normal stuff you would do, but it's still from the old tune. So the car's already warm. Yep. How's my forehead? Is it still shiny? Thanks. Appreciate you checking it out for me. Let me know. All right, so what am I doing here? Gotta connect to the access port, right? First step of any tune, if you're on an access port, you gotta connect to it. Oh, and apparently you also gotta hit the stereo buttons, because who doesn't like a good stereo? Josh likes his music, like most of us do. He's got some big ass subs in the trunk. Supposedly makes a lot of noise. I haven't heard it. Boy, this is really hard to do one-handed. I'm also rocking that no phone case life, seeing as how the last few streams I've had, the damn thing overheated on me. I don't know what's up with that. So see right now, this one I got set for 50 pounds of base pressure. Looks like we got 52 right now. See, we're at 73% ethanol. Before the car took a shit, he was having some random misfires on cylinder 4. And we had been working on that at the time, so that one's still on there. And look at that, so far nothing. One at startup is not uncommon, especially for 73% ethanol. So that's good. Coolant temp is 165 and climbing slowly. Excellent. All right. Sure, idle's nice. Had to get a new O2 sensor. When this thing lifted the heads, it puked the oil and coolant system into the exhaust. And that has a good way, or it's really talented at messing up sensors, especially when you leave the car sitting for 6 months after it breaks. And you don't drain out all that fluid. That's no shade towards Josh. I mean, it's a little bit of shade towards Josh, but he has some shit going on. So, we love him. We'll let it slide. Update available in access port software. Oh. Well, damn it, Cobb. I'm trying to tune. trying to play today. Well, that's good. Let's set the dyno speed. That's necessary anyways. We'll set some dyno speed. You gotta bring it to 60 miles an hour. Tell the dyno that the car is also at 60. Well, not 60. Tell what RPM the car is at 60 miles an hour. And then calibrate that in the test gear, which would be 4th gear. Contrary to popular belief, I don't use 4th gear because it's the closest to 1 to 1. That's not why. Thing's pulling right through the dyno a little bit there. Let's lock this diff up a little bit, see if that helps. Also, turn off the traction control, because that'll piss the car off. All right. So why do I use 4th gear? I use 4th gear because torque multiplication is a motherfucker. If you're trying to hold the car on the dyno, and you're in, say, 1st or 2nd gear, and you're outputting 3 times more torque than you would be in 4th gear. So 1st gear on this car is a 3.6, I believe, to 1 ratio, where 4th gear is 0.97, I think. Someone correct me if I'm incorrect about that. So I literally have over 3 times more torque multiplication of the wheels. That makes the car a lot harder to strap down. Makes the car want to climb its way off the dyno. Gives everything a much harder job to hold that down. Because torque is truly, you know, what you're measuring on a dyno. I mean, you measure horsepower generally, but really it's all about that torque output, right? This car might be fun. Maybe I'll build one. This car, shut up. See what I mean? Told you, he's gonna troll me every time. It's just because of the longer runner design. Longer runner, Mark, longer runner and the larger plenum, and also more even distribution of airflow. There were some tests done that showed that it was quite a bit closer cylinder variance than the other manifolds. Now, it also was like 10 or 15% less flow than the regular STI manifold. But raw flow numbers at a fixed differential pressure doesn't tell you the whole story. It only tells you a little bit. It doesn't tell you anything about resonance. It doesn't tell you anything about how the port shape affects the way the car behaves to changes in load. It doesn't tell you a lot of stuff, right? And yes, flow is important, but you can have heads that flow less on a dyno bench outperform heads that flow more because of the shape of the port, the volume, how the velocity is in the port, where it's at. You know, where's the restriction? Because where the restriction is, where the highest velocity is, and when you put that restriction in a specific location, and it will improve the way the port feeds the cylinders. An example would be swirl, tumble. Those are words that describe how the air acts when it enters the cylinder, right? Swirl would be, if you're looking down the bore, you'd look like a tornado. Tumble would be it's rolling itself over the top, okay? Those two things. Now, those are critical. In LS design, in Chevy, for example, Chevy had prototype versions of their heads that they were testing, and they had what they called the tornado and the hurricane, and those ports were shaped a certain way to give more or less swirl in the cylinder. Now, when you induce something like swirl, you almost always induce a little bit of restriction because you're taking the air and you're changing its direction, right? So if I'm changing the direction of the air and the air has mass and inertia, I have to accelerate that air towards the center of a turn, and that takes energy, okay? So with higher levels of swirl, you can create a bit of a restriction. But what Chevy found was when they ran their swirl at almost 2 full revolutions in the cylinder, every time it filled, the power went up like 12% or something. I don't remember the exact, it was like 12% or something. It was a significant gain. And then at 1.5, they had really good results. And so they ended up selling, I believe, at the 1.5 swirl head because they were able to get more top end horsepower out of it while still getting all this wonderful torque down low and response and efficiency and everything else. So that, I mean, they chose the lower flowing head because it outperformed the higher flowing head. And that's basically what I'm getting at there. Just a little history at the same time and a little education there with swirl and tumble. It's really important. Fuel enters the cylinder with the air when they come in together as they're charged. You want them to to mix well. You want to have a very homogeneous mixture. You don't want a stratified mixture, right? Stratified means there's layers, and you don't want that. Homogeneous means it's well blended. It's well distributed. Wow, this update's taking forever. Come on, Cobb, let's do this. So you want a nice homogeneous mixture, and homogeneous mixtures burn more consistently. And consistency is key, right? If I have 5 ignition or combustion events in a row, and each one is different, well, that's hard to control. I have one combustion event where the cylinder produces a ton of pressure, and one where it produces a little bit of pressure. That's not good, right? I want to have a consistent combustion event so I can get my timing and my fuel ratios closer to where I get the most power, which unfortunately is also always near the knock threshold. So if I have inconsistencies, I have to operate further from the knock threshold to prevent knock from happening. If I have a very consistent burn, very consistent engine, I can operate close to the knock threshold without knocking, which means I make more power and I have more reliability. All right, finally, software's up and running. Sweet. Oh, and I have a password in. Fuck, what's the password? I don't remember. My laptop. I hate the 15s for this. It's not as bad on the 17s. Like the 2017 and up ST. Oh, mine too, huh? I wear a dyno fucking seatbelt. No, I'm sure you guys don't hear that bling, bling, bling the whole time. All right. The 2015, 2016, I think 2017 or somewhere around there, the seat sensor was so sensitive, the laptop sitting on the edge of it would set off the passenger detection on it, enable the airbag, and bitch about the seatbelt not being plugged in. It's fucking annoying. That being said, it took me that long to even realize the thing was going off, and that it would probably bug the shit out of you guys more than me. So now I get my seatbelt on the dyno. Don't want to go flying off. That's correct, Mark. Absolutely. Well, he's a movie star. I don't want to bug him while he's doing his thing. Oh, ha. He's sipping coffee with Teresa while homie works. Yeah, Teresa's at work too there, Simon. Teresa is doing her works. Boy, this car vibrates like a bitch, Josh. His tire's been sitting too long. We'll get him warmed up today. Welcome. Oh, I'm like, what the fuck's a buckle plate? So are we building bridges over here? Yeah, buckle plate, right. Now, you know what happened? If I had those, I would need like 50 sets because I would forget them in everyone's cars. And also, knowing my luck, what would happen is the buckle plate would break off at one of the freaking layers halfway in the seatbelt, and it would, you know, never be any good. So last thing I ever would want would be a 3D printed buckle plate, unless it was like, you know, direct metal laser sintering or something like that. I wouldn't do any plastic stuff. If it was a continuous strand carbon fiber from like Mark IVs or something, then maybe, but that'd be expensive for no reason. I would never use one that was 3D printed. I don't want that fucking thing to. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I don't have to do that. I could do the layers long ways, right? And then it only snaps in half inside. Add more internal volume or connect. Sorry, I'm really bad at multitasking. I was born with a penis. Just what happens. All right, so the first step for this is not just go ham and hammer on it, right? I need to check the VE curve and the normal operation rate, the normal operating range. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm finally connected. The car's running. We're operating temperature. Everything is really smooth. I think this is smoother than before, and the porting is gonna make a difference on that, right? Like with porting, you have a lower velocity, and with lower velocity means less swirl, less tumble, and all that stuff at lower flow rates. And so the car previously would behave more inconsistently due to that change. But right now we're on stock quartz again, and it is really smooth. It's really snappy, snappier than before. I felt before the throttle was a little flat. even with my big cams, it's pretty snappy. I'm pretty happy with that. All right. Now that we're in, let's see how my trims are. How far off my VE table? It's not too bad, actually. I know you can't see shit because it's my ugly face. Not too bad. Here's a little tuning tip for you. Exhaust ABC, see how low it is right here? If you're running a big cams have a lot of overlap. Overlap is great for internal EGR because it reduces power and therefore you need to give it more throttle and blah blah blah. Anyways, well, that's actually pumping loss for EGR. It retains a lot of exhaust gas cylinders, but you have like 30 or 40 degrees on these two values. Here's the exhaust AVCS left and right. On stock cams, they're really small and they're timed differently than these cams. But when you go to big cams, the overlap becomes a lot higher, and that creates a car that's super soggy on the throttle when you're cruising. Naturally, we want to advance the intake cams quite a bit to utilize more compression. When you advance the intake cam, the intake valve closes closer to bottom dead center. You get more compression in the engine, and the engine makes more torque. But when you advance intake cams, you also get more overlap. Well, with quad AVCS, all four cams are adjustable, you can change that by moving the exhaust cams. Typically, this is like 40 degrees. Now, this is retard, this is advanced. So what that means is this one, if it was say 40, would be 35 degrees closer to the intake valve, which means more overlap. Sorry, I smelled oil. I forgot this thing. I blew its engine into the exhaust. Starting to smoke a little bit. Lots of smoke coming out the backside. I burn all the oil out of it. Anyways, so if you want these cars to give you good throttle response, you want to be able to utilize the compression because big cams close the intake valve a lot later. And so if you left this at 0 or you put it in the exact same spot as the factory cam, you very well could have less compression than the factory cam. So you need to play with this a little bit, see how much you can get torque-wise as you balance internal EGR and compression. But you run the exhaust low in cruise, not only in cruise, run it low in cruise so that you can have a little bit of overlap from the exhaust and get all your overlap from the intake. That way, as you add overlap to get your EGR, you're also increasing compression on the engine, making it run more efficiently. If you retard these cams a lot, you create a lot of overlap here, you'll get a lot of exhaust retention in the cylinders, which means a lot of internal EGR, but your intake cam will not be able to be as advanced as much, and you'll be shutting the intake valve really high up the cylinder, like 67 degrees after bottom dead center, and you lose a lot of compression. So now I have a really slow burn, I have a really diluted burn, and it just isn't as good for torque output. So really low on the exhaust with big cams and use a lot of intake. But you'll see as I add load, it starts to climbing in, because as I add load, I want that overlap for turbo spool and everything else. You see it starts climbing here. But in cruise, low exhaust, high intake, makes the cars on big cams are really, really good. So if you got a car with 280s or something, and you feel like it just misfires when you're cruising, just doesn't run really smooth, take that sucker, drop that shit down really low on the exhaust, bump up the intake, or if it's already 30 or so, you may have to go down with it to something in the 20s or so. Get a good intake value on it, and then add some timing. This engine will probably be happier if I added, oh no, I got plenty of time on this one. This one's plenty happy. All right. But that trim is really good, look at that. So far it looks like the difference in VE from not having porting that I lose is made up for by the cams. That's interesting. And as I add some throttle, it becomes rich. Becoming rich. That means not as much airflow at that setting, right? So right there, it seems like I'm losing some to what the porting would get. And I believe that. They're ported pretty heavily. The question is how much does it all balance out? So let's find out. I'm gonna add some load to it. Oh, you got look at that. Look at the back window. All the smoke. Oh, can you see that? Watch. Look at all that oil smoke. That's good. That's good news right there. Get it all cleaned out. Woo. Well, when you launch an engine through the exhaust, that happens. There's a little hiccup right there. Hesitation. I don't know if it's lean or rich at that point. It feels like slop in the drivetrain. It's so violent. Right there. What was that? A little too much tipping. That's what it is. There's a spot there. It's a smidge too much tipping. Oh, there was more in the, yeah, in the downpipe. In the header too. There was like 1.5 gallons in the header. Most of the system was in the header, and a bunch of it made it to the downpipe and the exhaust. Man, we pulled the O2 sensor out and just drained the system. Drained all the coolant and oil out the exhaust. It was pretty good. Wow, there's a lot of smoke. All right, so I have to adjust tipping. Tipping's too aggressive. I'm getting some rich dips at tipping and heavier tippings, and at light tippings, I get a tiny lean spot. So what I need with tipping is I need a little more initial and then quicker decay. So I'll have to adjust the wall weighting on that. The cams are tracking perfectly. That's what I want with the cams track perfectly, so I know that everything's working. I got a visitor. See the smoke?
We're smoking the whole street out.
Yeah?
Rumble's totally covered. I just shut the door because it was pulling it in.
Oh, really?
Dude, it's bad.
Dude, it's a lot. Yeah. I remember at MPS one time, because we had a fan in the front and a fan in the back, I was doing that same thing, like it just failed like the same way. And I look up, there's smoke coming in the front.
Yeah,
it went around the building, and then it was just coming in.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
You can look, if you look down, Rumble Auto's all smoke.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's expensive oil that we're burning right there. All right, well, let's do this. Double check wastegate duty cycle, there's nothing. It's gonna be a spring pressure. Everything looks really close. It's gonna be a little rich probably. Duty cycle is set to 0. Oh, I gotta check the flex fuel map too. I should have left them all to 0, but we gotta check that really quick. Yes. Alright, so we're 0. A lot of Schaefers down the tube. Yeah, a steel tube on top of that. Steel tube attached to the turbo, attached to the header, attached to the heads themselves. Alright, here it goes. Let's do this. Oh, I gotta tell the dyno we're doing this. Dyno needs to know. What's going on? That is on there already. Hey Josh, is the screen on inside the waiting room there? If it's not, turn it on and do it quickly so it doesn't fuck me up, because it turns off the laptop for a couple seconds. What does that speed say? I can't read that shit. It's too low, whatever it is. We're gonna go with 45. All right. It's gonna be a short one. I'm not gonna do a full pull because I don't know where the fuel is gonna go yet. Unless I start seeing that everything looks good, then I'll stay in it. But I gotta watch the parameters. Let me just double check the ABCS curves really quick. Oh, get some bouncing going on here. I like it. I might have too much there, actually. That might make it a little slow on top. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Well, that ain't right. That's an improperly installed boost control system or something. That thing hit like 30 pounds of boost there. Let's review the log, since we were able to throw a lot of boost at it. It's all broken now. Just kidding. The engine's not brand new. It's already got some miles on it and stuff. $30 pounds of boost on wastegate pressure?
Line backwards or something?
Might be.
Is the boost controller working at all?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't do anything with it.
Alright, let's look out of the hood.
Yep. So it goes in the middle. Turbo boost source to the middle nipple. That's where to start.
Car just
What's
hit
that?
the
What do you got? Are they just regular? Oh, taco. Oh, interesting. Is this like a 70s retro thing or something?
car I just did the stage 2 setup on, has a electronic, has an aftermarket boost controller.
That's gonna be a problem.
So I can't just run the OTS now, can I?
I hear a vacuum leak. I hear a vacuum leak.
I think you plugged in the wrong plug. The boost controller.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, I heard a vacuum leak, so when you pop the hood, I heard a vacuum leak, so I would check that too.
Anyways, I can't throw an OTS map on there, can I?
Ooh, I don't like that. 14 degrees of timing. At 30 psi, that's too much timing. Good thing I let out of it. No, you cannot. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore his question. Man, we got too much timing on it. That's really weird. Yes, boost control solenoid's blue. To what?
The lines are correct.
Seven. That's my dynamic. So they're checking out the boost control system. I'm checking out the timing. 6. This one, the factory one's kind of weird. Intake temps starting to look like Arizona. What is it? 122? Oh, it sits there and just gets hot? Yeah.
I told Josh to start looking up plane tickets before they sell out.
Always a troll. That's why he
But then
deserves
he
it.
said he's got his black card here, so he'll just take that.
Yep, that's what I said. He said there's no fucking way I'm driving that car across the state again. Let's pull that out. It's too much. Let's pull a lot out to start off with. I was irresponsible. I should have pulled more timing out to begin with while I was testing. It's too much. Pull a bunch out. Alright, a lot less timing there. Let's save that. I'll do some tweaks to the wall wedding really quick. Did you find the boost leak? Or the air leak too? Oh, I mean, it sounded like a huge hissing sound when you popped the hood and it was running. All I heard was psst. It's like a big time leak. Can I start it right now?
Yeah.
You can hear it there. It's pretty obvious. A little bit of the whistle.
Yeah, I'm good. That's a new noise.
Okay. Well, the experiment will take a little longer. I feel like that was the one right there. Of course, they have a negative here too. Oops. There's the decay right here. Decay is something that changes. Am I adjusting that before? No, you're not adjust the decay before, okay? Put that back. All right. I'm gonna do a flash really quick. Disconnect from ECU, drop the board, flash. Reduce that timing down, make it safer condition-wise, and then adjust the wall weighting a smidge, make it a little more sensitive at initial and a little less sensitive as it comes up. Or was that backwards? Yeah, I can't, I'm flashing. Okay. I'm flashing! I'll put those half-inch studs to the test, right, Travis? See what they can actually do. Turn the key off. Doing a flash. All right. Fire low. Yes, actually, those are the ones I'm not sold out of. I'm sold out of the singles, and I have some duals left. They're not done. Well, so what happened was I had the welder weld my cams and he welded the duals and not the singles when I had all my singles sold, and then he had to put it back in the queue again because he did the wrong box. So They're all done now, and then I went to install the plugs, and all the plugs fucking went missing for some reason. I don't know what happened with that, but someone looked at my plugs or lost them. So I had to get new plugs. So I don't hear a leak anymore. That's good. What is it? Come here. Come here. How do you got hooked up? How do you have hooked up?
2 goes to gate, 1 goes to atmosphere, 3 goes to the compressor housing.
Which one's 3?
3 goes to compressor housing.
Yeah, which one is that on the valve?
The middle one.
Middle one. Okay. And then the left one goes to the gate.
Yeah. Left one goes to gate, right one goes to
vent. So 1 is gate, 3 is compressor. Did any of the plugs come out of the wastegate?
I didn't see anything come out of it. I can double check it though.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because that's the only thing it would be, right? I mean, like,
so this was the it's for that little balance trim piece that goes over the pulley. That bolt was just in the bracket, and it had wound itself down, and actually the sticker
was hitting the
on
belt.
The belt was going.
That was the sound I heard. The
yeah, as soon as I took it out, it gone.
Okay, it sounded like a vacuum leak, but I wasn't seeing vacuum leak indication here.
It totally sounded like a vacuum leak to me.
Yeah.
But I deleted everything.
Top's okay.
One of the caps is missing. Is it a water port or is it a?
It might be a water port.
The water ports are real small.
Yeah, there's a big plug on the top like this.
Note to those out here who use tile wastegates, I love them. They are the most consistent performing wastegates of all the ones that I've ever used on the market. But with the MVS and the MVR, they have little plugs that go on the bottom for the unused ports that you're not using. They fall out. So use Loctite. If you don't use Loctite, sometimes they fall out. You gotta torque the shit out of them, but they still go through a lot of heat cycles being on a wastegate, right? So use Loctite on them and you torque them shut so they don't rattle out. And if they rattle out, high boost. And that right now, high boost. So we may have found the actual reason why the car failed. If indeed that is what happened, if the plug fell out of the wastegate, then we know why the car failed in the first place. Why it hit so much fucking boost and not controlling boost where it should have been. So, Josh, we may have figured it out, dude. Let's try to turn it off. Stop adding heat to it. All right, let's take a look at that wastegate, see if it's together or not. Oh, hand cramp. I see a water port on this side. Like on the other side?
No, it's directly up top.
That top one? Well, top is okay. Top is side port. That doesn't matter.
No, it's top is the we're looking at.
Oh, yeah. So that's why this engine failed. That fell off.
Could be, 'cause I didn't touch that.
Yeah, we wouldn't have taken those off. You got Loctite on that?
Yep.
Okay. So then that'd be it. That fell off. It probably hit 40 pounds of fucking boost. Yeah. What kind of car is this?
11 SCI.
Is it hot?
Yeah, very hot.
Let's put a fan on it. I heard it hit the ground though.
Yeah.
You said 11 SCI?
It's the wagon that's in my head.
Yeah, so why is there a solenoid on it?
I have no idea. It was rotating with an aid that
Point it down off the top.
There you go.
That's even better. Yeah, just hold it for a little while. Is it running? Oh, yeah, I see it spinning. 611 STI, but it had different intake on it. Oh yeah, fun.
And top 3 port.
But not by me. Yeah, that's an issue. And it's got what on it now? Cobb SF?
Top SF.
Downpipe?
Downpipe with the
Does it have a... Oh, catted. So no external wastegate?
No, there's stock other than stage 2 parts and that.
I love the air quotes, by the way. Thank you. I know, I hate the stage names too. Yeah.
This one guy yesterday.
Well, those guys that... Sorry to interrupt. The guys that called me today about the rebuilding the transmission for my truck, like, what stage are you on? I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Well, we don't do stock. We only do stages. And they're like, it's 8,000, 8,900 for the first one, 9,600, and then 10.5 or 11.9 for the third stage, whatever.
The guys that built my trucks are like, they don't rate my stage. Like, it's rated for whatever 4,000 tons. It's like,
Right.
it's rated for, I don't know, 750 at the most. That's what they're rated. That's what they're rated like stages.
Yeah, but was it an $11,000 rebuild on your Allison transmission? Well, then it sucks. Because clearly the $11,000 one is twice as good as your $5,500 one.
Why would you certain
I'm pretty sure that they don't actually do it. They probably send it to somebody else and double the fucking price.
They send it to the guy that
They probably send it to the guy that, yeah, very much likely. So, one of the plugs did fall out of the wastegate, plus the high boost. So, got another plug, got some Loctite on it. Trying to cool it off right now with the fan, as you saw, and then hopefully we'll have boost control. That'd be a-okay, right? Spencer, it started shifting funny a few months ago. It started hammering third gear really hard, like driving, accelerating just casually, and then bam, like third or fourth shifts really hard, and it's just, yeah.
It got really, really soft.
Oh, and then it got soft? No, the whole truck shudders now.
No, it was shut down. And then it go.
Oh yeah, just by do that, it just hits hard. I'm sure when it starts slipping more, it'll be more chattery.
When I crash on the house, then it started to shudder really bad. And then
Yeah. So I'm just kind of cruising, getting on the road from my driveway. You know, first, second, third, or fourth goes, and you're like, oh, that's not good. You let off and you give it a little more throttle, it's like, does it again, like that's not right.
usually the 3 to 4.
Yeah, I either got all kinds of bad U-joints or the train's fucked. It's got 220,000 miles. It was a fleet truck. I do nothing but tow with it and drive it hard. Yeah, so we both have 07s. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I had more questions. What do you suggest for your cam, or as far as machine work to the heads? 2.7 liter stroker build. So I originally designed the cams for the 2.3 liters, but honestly, because the way I did it, it would actually suit a stroker really well too, because my cams have a fastest opening ramp rate that you can get right now. And when you stroke an engine, the piston blows through TDC really fast, and you got to chase it down anyway. So having a fast opening, a high ramp rate on the intake valve would definitely be beneficial for a lower RPM stroker. So in that regard, it worked pretty well. I heard drop number 2. They suck to put in, don't they?
Do you have any more?
Did that one hit the floor though?
We did a flash with the next find it.
I mean, there are a few cases in the world where a faster ramp rate on an intake cam isn't a good thing. On an exhaust cam though, it's not necessarily desirable. On my Corvette, for example, I wanted an exhaust cam with a lot of duration, exhaust lobe, with a lot of duration, but I wanted to open kind of slow. And that's because you initiate exhaust blowdown when you start opening the exhaust valve. And the earlier you open it, the more blowdown you get. They call it blowdown, right? The later you open it, the more expansion coupling you get. And so, if you think about the exhaust valve being an orifice with a restriction, if I open it just a little bit, and I'm trying to pump a lot of air through it, there's still going to be a different pressure across that valve. So if my initiator is still expanding really fast, I can still pop that valve open a little bit, get some expansion coupling while also starting my blowdown through the header. By doing that, you reduce the pulse strength and you reduce back pressure because you're not trying to pump all the air through the header in one burst of air. You put it through the header, right? So it has a longer time to do it. And so with my Corvette, I went with an earlier opening exhaust valve, but also a slower opening exhaust valve, but then a very fast shutting ramp rate. So it's a asymmetrical load. So it opens slow, shuts fast. And on the exhaust, that tends to work really well. On the intake, it's always a race to get as much air in the engine as you can. So a faster opening valve gives you more air in the engine when the piston is moving or accelerating down the bore, and that helps. Cylinder pressure itself is rarely equal intake manifold pressure, right? You're only giving yourself milliseconds to fill the cylinder through a valve that's that big. So manifold pressure might be one value, but actual cylinder pressure is going to be another at high speeds. At low speeds, you have more time to fill it up, so manifold pressure is going to be closer to cylinder pressure during the intake stroke. But when the piston's moving really fast, you have less time to get air into the cylinder, and that's why over a certain RPM, VE starts to drop. You start to actually draw a lower pressure in the cylinder than you have in the manifold. That's one of the reasons VE drops. So with a high RPM engine, if you want to get air in the cylinder, you got to get in as fast as you can. So a higher ramp rate gives you more time with the valve open, gives you more time to fill the cylinder, as if you were traveling with a slower RPM with a smaller cam. That's the best way I can describe it, like maintenance terms. So I don't remember why I started saying that. Oh yeah, the stroker. So with the stroker, the piston's moving away from TDC really fast, and you won't be able to get air in the engine. So having a fast ramp rate would facilitate getting air in the engine on your stroker. Anytime you stroke an engine, you have a worse rod ratio, you have faster piston speed through TDC, less dwell, etc. You need to get air in that thing as quick as you can. I hate strokers on every platform. They screw up engine geometry often. They pull the piston too far down the bore and unload the skirt. Factory block with an 83 mil stroke on it. Almost every time, the widest part of the piston leaves the bottom of the bore. They wear out super quick, the skirts wear out, the rings wear out, everything wears out on them. Plus you have really high side loading because your rod ratio is absolute shit. So the piston comes down, the skirt unloads out the bottom of the bore, and then you start pushing it back up again at an angle, the skirt kicks sideways, and that's like wiggle its way back into the cylinder again. Yeah, it's not something I like to do. Also because it's an EJ, the EJ is extremely difficult to machine square. Now what do I mean by square? Square, I mean that the cylinder wall is straight down, vertical, and it's also perpendicular to the deck, right? That's a square cylinder. Both sides are parallel with each other, right? There's no bore taper, right? And then we say a cylinder is round, you're talking about looking down the cylinder in the hole, and it's round. So a perfect engine has a round and a square cylinder, depending on which direction you're looking at it. So a round cylinder looking down the bore is easier to do, but still difficult on a Subaru because you can't overstroke the stones when you're honing the cylinder. If you think about, just like the piston dwell, the piston slows down before it turns around and comes down again. It spends more time at that part of the cylinder than it does in the middle. The bore and hone does the same thing. If it turns around the bottom of the cylinder and comes down again, spends more time at the bottom, and that's called dwell. So the stones will dwell more at the bottom of the cylinder than they would if you overstroke. If the main webbing wasn't in the way, like in every other fucking engine in the world, you could overstroke the cylinder and have that turnaround point be past the bottom of the cylinder. Then your dwell through the entire bore is more uniform from top to bottom. And when the dwell is the same, then you have a more square cylinder because the bore is the same up and down. It doesn't get fat at the bottom. You don't spend more time hogging it out. So when you stroke an EJ that already has a difficult time getting the cylinder square, and then you run the piston all the way on the bottom and sometimes further, you just create a whole recipe for, well, this might not be right and this might not be right, and things often add up, tolerances stack, and it just doesn't work very well. I think we're on take 3 here of the plug install. How many burns are you get? Toyota put out a study when they were developing the FA20 with Subaru, doing the 40S system and everything, but also the hardware side of it. And this paper, it's a white paper, it is available online, and it's really cool because my elbow's coming today. It's really cool because Toyota talks about everything. They show the port design versus the FB that they base the engine off of, versus their improved port design. They talk about how it affects airflow through the cylinder, air in the port, flow rates, horsepower, everything else. They also do bearing loads, and they show the load on the bearing. And this is very important because the FA has an even worse rod ratio than the EJ. It's got 86 mil stroke and almost the same deck height, and 129.3 or 6 millimeter rods, an even shorter rod on like way more stroke. So the bearing load is a lot higher on this. To make matters worse, because the stroke increased, they had to increase the bearing size, and so they increased on the mains because you have to maintain what's called overlap between the journals. You have a rod journal and a main journal, and where they overlap each other, that's where the strength of the crank is. The webbing between them isn't the primary source of strength. The overlap between the journals is the primary source of strength in the crankshaft. So when they added stroke to it, you reduce the overlap. So you got to increase the bearing size, either the mains, rods, or both, to get more overlap. Well, in a stroker EJ, you don't have that choice unless you get aftermarket custom rods and a custom crank and all that kind of stuff. So you have less overlap. So your crank is less strong than a 79 millimeter stroke crank or a 75 mil stroke crank. So you got it? Is it the only one that's out?
Probably. Well, if there is more, we don't have any more plugs.
There should be 2 plugs and 1 nipple on the bottom there. Other one's missing too. That's not the other water port?
No, the other water port's on the
I think they're like slightly off. But you should be able to go nipple, plug, water, nipple again.
The water nipple also doesn't have a big standoff for it.
Right.
It's tapped into the side, so
Right.
it's a big standoff.
So missing another plug. Did we drop the plug on the ground and not find it?
No, we lost 2.
What do you mean? Like on the ground?
Yeah, if the car wasn't there, we could get to it easy.
But there's some under there right now. Oh, okay. So we need like a broom or something.
Well, they dropped right where the motor is.
So both plugs are missing. That's kind of weird. It makes you wonder if they were borrowed, and someone doesn't remember borrowing them. We might have the gates on the wall or something. You know, Travis, I agree. That's why I got it. I would. Yes, Cody, I would. In line, right? So you don't put it in line with something. You don't want to create any parallel paths or anything like that. So I would do it in line with the turbocharger. It's right there anyways, the lower cooling hose right there. I would put it in line with the turbocharger cooling. Did you find one? Oh, he didn't hear me. You're welcome, Cody. Yeah, like I said, I just use it in line with the turbo. The only issue with that, I will say though, is that the ports are really small on it. So in that case, you might need to do a parallel circuit. But if you do a parallel circuit, do it parallel with the turbo. Yeah, exactly. Sustain load is why you would do it. Yeah, I would go to, if you're gonna do it, I guess only because the holes are so small. Man, my elbows are really killing me today. That is really weird. I would I just do it parallel with a turbo. Or potentially use the throttle body cooling lines. A lot of guys delete the throttle body cooling lines. Use that circuit to feed your wastegate. That'd be an excellent source there. It would be the right flow rate. Perfect. It'd be the right flow rate, and you wouldn't be upsetting anything else. You're actually restoring a circuit that was previously in the car that got deleted. Most people delete anyways. So if you haven't bypassed your throttle body coolant lines, I would use those. And if you know what those are, I'll show you right here on this engine on the stand here. A lot of people get rid of this and the other one's over here on the side, right there, that guy there. So these two cooling lines, a lot of people get rid of that because it puts a lot of heat in the manifold, a lot of heat in the throttle body. And so it's there for keep the throttle body from freezing, but that's not really an issue on these cars. So a lot of people delete that to help cool off the whole manifold and cool off the throttle body and stuff, which has a small effect, not a whole lot of effect on the actual air temp, but a lot of people do it for feelsy goods reasons. So if you were to just take those lines and run to the wastegate and back. So this one goes to the crossover pipe, and this one goes to the, well, this one goes to one crossover, this goes to the other pipe. It's both sides of the water pump, essentially. I wish I could show you better. Here we go. So here's one. Here's the other on this engine. So you'll see this one here comes off with the black hose, which is water pump suction. And this one here is the discharge side of the block. So they go from here to there through the throttle body and put that to your wastegate. I've never had it, Nick. You know, I think, I mean, we have turbos, right? And turbos generate heat. And there's a lot of stuff in between, see? There's a lot of stuff in between the throttle body and atmospheric air that generate heat and everything else. So I don't think it is. But I can't say, no, it's not a problem. Do whatever you want. You know, I don't know. What do I think about the FA24? I'm excited for it, really. I think the 20 kind of sucks for performance stuff. It's perfect for what Subaru wanted. They did a great job with that. Obviously, I've said it in multiple videos that the FA20, they did a perfect job for their goals. We good? Nice. Thank you. Not a perfect job for our goals as performance enthusiasts, but for Subaru's goals, they fucking nailed it. And, got it. The 24, I think, will do a better job of meeting our goals as performance enthusiasts for a lot of reasons. One, because when it's in the STI, it's more performance oriented than even the WRX. They had a whole nother crew of people doing it. All right, here we go on the dyno again. It's probably cold right now. So I'm excited for the 24. Plus, there's a lot of lessons learned on the 20. A lot of lessons learned from the 20. A lot of shit that sucked. And I've heard that the STI is going to have the D4S on it. It's going to have the dual injection, which is what it needs to have. It keeps the valves cleaner. It's better for power. It's better for a lot of stuff. So I heard that the STI is going to have the D4S, so it has the port injectors and direct injectors. So if the 24 on the STI has both of those and it's 24, it's going to fucking rip. It's going to heat soak. Oh, that's funny. My stream was on here. I turn this fucking thing off. Josh, your stereo took my fucking video. Josh, your stereo took my fucking video. Is that off? I found it. All right. What was I saying? I'm sorry. Let's read it again. Do you think there might be too much heat soak under the engine with the turbo location? No. I mean, there isn't now on the 20, so I don't think, I just turned it off, dude. I don't think that it's going to be an issue on the 24. I mean, as it is, the 24 is rated for towing, right? They put it in an Ascent, and they rated it for towing 5,500 pounds or something. Whoopsie. I did, dumbass. My first clutch, though. I lost a cylinder. I flooded it. There we go. Oh, the fucking trash control. God damn it. I'm like, what is going on? Hey, look at that. It fucking works. Alright, so now. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I picked. Alright, so now. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Eric, you can turn yourself on. Alright, let's do this again. What the fuck is going on? Alright, Jesus Christ. Having dyno issues. All right, so on 15 pounds of boost, Got 380 wheel. And if you recall, I pulled all the timing out of it. So that's not bad considering I pulled all the timing out of it. How much timing did I pull out of it? You still give me a knock event. Say, what? How does that fucking work? On 15 pounds of boost. Fuck you, Subaru. Let's see. For pressure. Oh, it's 16 pounds right there. Oh, man. 16 pounds, and it had 17 degrees of timing on it. But it's also on 70% ethanol. Let's see what we got. Cams. Might have a little too much on the cams now, because this is a cam curve based on the smaller old cams. Alright. Let me go look at the final curve, the power curve. See if we can zoom in on that or not. Okay, so that's boost and AFR. AFR, see, it peters off though towards the lean side, and that means everything else, you know, the same. Means I'm moving more air at a higher RPM than I was before. So that's something right there. That's a good sign that we're gonna have good results today. It ran leaner than before. That means more air. And it's speed density. I didn't change the VE yet, so what's wrong button? What's the curve look like? I can't see it, it's off the charts. Yeah. 500 horse. It climbs more. Still really flat. It's actually surprising how flat it is. It was pretty flat last time. It was almost a completely flat line last time. So this at least climbs up. I like that. So I gotta add some fuel to it up top. Gotta put the timing back in it. I think we're just now. Let's add some boost. See what happens. I'm gonna try and get the same boost level as before. To see how that compares to the previous tune. Now, one thing I have to keep in mind. This ethanol's been here for almost a year, right? It's been here for like 8 months, 9 months, probably, maybe a year. So it might not be any good. Luckily, it's at less than a quarter tank. Unluckily, I don't know if we have any. Josh, ask Chase if we have any ethanol here. We might have 5 gallons somewhere, but if we don't, we're gonna need it. And it'd be a good idea to throw it in now anyways to freshen it up some. It's so good though. So I'm going to add some wastegate duty cycle to it. Now here's the curve from before for the low. See the low side. I had a lot of duty cycle on it before. I'm kind of curious what's going to take this time. So for the high right now, I just set it at a flat 20. Get the far right 3 cells just to see how much. Well, I haven't done it yet. Sweet. To see how responsive this is with the new cams. So that should be interesting as well to see the difference in wastegate duty cycles between the different cams. Unfortunately, I didn't copy my freaking maps over. I was going straight 20 right here. Straight 20. See how much boost we get out of 20, and then we'll work on tuning that map in. Work on tuning that map and getting it the boost as we need it based on RPM and all that. But initially, we just go straight to 20, see how responsive the boost control system is. Does it give me 2 pounds? Does it give me 5 pounds? What is that giving me? And then from there, we'll start developing the curve with what it needs at X RPM to give me the boost that I want, if that boost is even attainable. I'm also going to reduce the ABCS at high RPM. I have found that my cams like to be zeroed a little sooner on some of the other builds that I've done, so I'm going to zero them at 6,000 instead of having all this overlap up here. And I'm going to taper that in just a little sooner. We'll start, say, right around here. We'll add a little there, but I'm also going to make it stay high a little longer because of the size of this turbo and everything. I'm going to bump this zone up a little bit like that. That actually gave me a nicer curve anyways. On the back side here, you see I got a nicer curve right there. So, okay. I think someone just filled up the gas can.
You want some fresh E85 in there?
Yeah.
Okay, go and pop the gas cap.
Yeah. I can do that. Oh. All right. So, in 3076 Gen 2, GTX 3076 Gen 2. Okay, so this should help with a little more power up top, hopefully. We'll find out. And this exhaust might be a little aggressive because these are now a much larger exhaust cam than the previous set. So I'm gonna drop this to 10, and then later on I'm gonna fuck with this. And I'm just gonna do a big gross change from 17 to 10 after I tweak the intake a little more. But that's what I'm gonna do for now. It just gives me a little bit of a ramp. Lots of overlap, help a spool, and then pull out the overlap towards the top end. We'll see how that behaves. We may find that I need to have a 20 up here. I don't know what this engine is going to like, so I can't tell you. But we'll find out. What did I just adjust? Oh, that was closed. Oh, well, I like that. Let me borrow that here. Yeah, these old cams were small. The older cams were much smaller, and so having a little more overlap was totally okay on the last cam, but this one's so much larger. We don't want to have that much overlap at redline because that's actually going to hurt our power production. So we're going to reduce the overlap down up top. I'm going to add a smidge more actually down here, not because I want the extra overlap per se, but because I want the extra compression. Since this cam is opening the intake valve later in the cycle and I want to close sooner, I want the compression, I'm going to gain the compression and the overlap by advancing it a bunch. And like I said, since it's a bigger cam, I want more of that compression that I can get. Like I said, the downside is I get more overlap. But I can adjust that overlap with the exhaust. If I find this is too much overlap, then I can reduce the exhaust a little bit to reduce the overlap and then hopefully give me, again, the results I'm looking for. So this is going to be a really generic curve. We're going to just see how the car responds to this. And then, there we go. Nice and generic. Like so. I have to disconnect the flash.
I gave you 5 gallons.
Already?
Yep.
Oh, with the modified funnel?
Yep.
Nice, that was fast.
Yep. And then the 280 guys showed up. I told them to hang out and eat pizza because we're doing this.
Okay, what time is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably 2 or something.
Okay. His appointment was 2:30.
2:22.
Oh, so he's pretty much on time. And we're behind. It is hot as fuck in here. I need a fan for in here. The car has AC, but I'm not going to do that to the power output. And the heat soak. All the extra heat pushing right into the engine bay. I don't want that. I might need to lower the timing up here. Actually, looking up here, I got it quite a bit because that other cam was smaller. This might be too much overlap and too much advance down low on this bigger cam. Not for it does, but that doesn't stop all the heat from coming into the engine bay while it's running all before then, right? Like, where does the heat go from inside the car? It goes to the condenser, and the condenser's in front of the radiator, and all that heat gets drawn into the engine bay and into the engine. So I'm taking the heat that I got in here and stuffing it in the engine bay, and I'm not trying to do that. So there, motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. See you in Discord, Nick. No. Let's see. My phone's getting hot. I need to put it in front of the fan too. All right. Hopefully you guys are watching my video at work, and as I yelled motherfucker, like that all your coworkers turned and looked at you like, what the fuck are you watching? You're like, Dr. Disrespect, of course. What else would I be watching? All right. I'm gonna be hearing myself again in a couple seconds. Okay, a little rich on the post start. I need to adjust that. So the hot restart is rich. Keep that in my head, because right now I'm going to try and keep this thing from stealing Josh's phone. Oh, good, it says off. Oh, I just turned it on. Motherfucker. All right. Reconnect ECU. I work alone, but no one would care. Most likely they would look though. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna turn some air on right now, just for a couple seconds, and then I'll turn off the compressor, just run the fan. The problem with that is that where does the air come from? It comes from right above the hood. And when you're not moving, the air come over the hood. It isn't cold. It's air from the engine bay. When you're moving, it's good, right? But when you're just sitting here, it's air from the engine bay. All right. AC off, but fan running. Let me just turn this temperature in to low so it doesn't try and add any heat to it. Bring up our logging screen. Initiate a AVCS warm-up. Make sure it's active. See, no advance there yet. There we go. Now we got advance. AVCS active. Come to a complete stop. Make sure that the whole system is good. There we go. Start accelerating again here. Let's see. Turn off trash control because that shit sucks. Ouch. Lock the diff if I can. Just help the dyno out some. Put the fan in front of the vent because it's hot as fuck. Woo. Woo. Can I do both? Shit's burning my hand. It melted my battery down. Sorry, sir, your Pixel warranty doesn't cover melted batteries. There's that stutter again. That is weird. Random stutter. Sorry, Adam. All right, so I gained some stuff down low. I got some spool out of that. Look at that. It's quite a bit more boost. Oh, it's not boosted horsepower, but still, it's a lot more horsepower at lower RPM. I mean, at 3,500 RPM, it picked up. What is that? 125 to 225. Picked up 100 horsepower. At 3,500 RPM, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. Now we're fucking talking. Let's see what we got. 100 horsepower, 3,500 RPM. How much more boost is that? That should probably, before I bring it up. Is this making 15 or 20 to 25 horsepower per pound, right? Most engines operate around there. This is low enough in the RPM range. I'm gonna say exhaust back pressure is really low, so I'm gonna say that's only gonna be like 4 pounds more boost at that RPM to get that 100. I could be way wrong. That's my estimate, though. Let's find out. And I am way wrong. Let's see. It is 7 to 15, so 7 more pounds of boost. Wow. Impressive. A lot more boost down low in that area. This whole region. Look at that. So many more lubs. Look at all the LBs we got in there. That's good. That's a big gain. That's what I wanted with this head cam change. Is that sort of gain in the low ends. That's really nice. Let's compare torque now. That's off the charts. Let's see. Let's change that. Oh yeah, look at that. A lot more torque. I'm a fan of that. That's almost a flat torque there too. Little bump right here. That's probably ignition advance or overlapping the cams. I did lose a little dip up top where I changed all that cam timing. I got a little dip up top. I'm not convinced that's intake side. I think that's exhaust side. So I'm gonna change just the exhaust cam timing and see if the power comes back up on the top end. That's torque. It was more obvious in the horsepower graph. Let me bring that back up again so you can see this. Power right here. See, it kind of hangs a U-turn a little sooner than before. Sorry, isn't looking a little sooner U-turn right there. I think that's going to be exhaust cam, but I could be wrong. But I'm going to pretend that I'm right, and I'm going to change exhaust cam first. I'm going to go from 10, like I said before, up to 20, and see if that retard helps or not. And no, I'm not talking about laying. Let's see. I got feedback knock. What? That's gotta be the engine noise. There's no way. That thing was 12 to 1 on ethanol with 16 degrees of timing on 15 psi. That is not nearly enough to piss off one of these engines. Not with this low of a compression ratio and everything else. Oh, that's not even that much boost. It's 14 pounds. And the first one happened at 10. 10 right there. I'm not convinced that that's authentic, unless it's just shitty ethanol. But I'm not convinced. Let me make some adjustments, and like in that region, I can add fuel or pull timing, and if it keeps happening, then just definitely isn't the case. But I've never had ethanol knock or produce a knock event at such, I say a light load. On pump gas, that's a decently heavy load, but never on such a light load. Oh, the ethanol is good. Well, half of it's good. We just put 5 gallons of brand new ethanol. It's usually really high concentration. It's up to 77. It was 73, so it's gone up, and we put 5 gallons in it. So there wasn't a whole lot left in the tank apparently because it raised up. The ethanol is good ethanol. We use it all the time. I think it's gonna be a portion of it that's old, and also this engine has larger piston to wall clearances than the one that was in it before, because this one was made to run a little hotter, a little higher, and everything else. So I don't think I have that adjusted, do I? Oh, I do. No, I don't. I don't have the sensitivity adjusted at all. So you see here the threshold level, that's still factory threshold level, which is really, really low and overly sensitive. And typically that's going to be just the pistons making noise. Oh, yeah, look at it. So where it's happening is right at the lowest point. Oh, 3.2. Damn, that's low. Right, this 3.2 zone. So it crosses over, hits this low spot, and it trips it. So it tells me that our noise is probably in the 3.3 to 3.4 range through here. And that's why we're not getting it up top. We're just getting right here in this low section on the graph. So I don't believe that to be knock at all. I'm pretty sure that's piston noise. But I'm going to check it first. Oh yeah, look at that. So they increase the sensitivity on it, on the stock engine, to try and keep them together in case they knock. They increase the sensitivity in the factory tune. This is factory value. So I'm betting it's that. But as a good tuner should do, I'm going to adjust the timing a smidge there first. But I don't think it's going to help. I do not think it's going to make a lick of difference. But first, I'm going to do what I talked about. I'm going to alter the post-start fueling for hot restart. And then I need to adjust the exhaust cam. Oh, it's really, really low for the initial. That one's kind of funky. Should make it slow across the board. That's a low speed decay, and it was a low speed decay because it happened and stayed in for a while. There's a little spot right there. Let's change that guy. Just lower those peaks down just a smidge. A little less post-start in the low speed decay region. Exhaust cam timing, let's go back to that again. I'd never seen cams happy at 10 on an EJ. I just wanted to see what would happen, and it did pretty much what we thought it would do. So let's go to 20 now. Let's go to 20 on that. Did the whole block at 20. We're going to run through this zone right here anyways, but if we find that 20 is the right value for this region, then we'll adjust it down and smooth it into this area as needed. Although some high RPM retard in the NA region is actually pretty decent for NA horsepower. If you look at like LSs, for example, right, that have the variable cam, they can't affect overlap. They can only affect center line, and they pick up horsepower by retarding the entire cam. So they retard the intake and the exhaust. Well, that's what this would be doing. Although this isn't an NA engine where the exhaust pressure is only a little bit higher than manifold pressure as you get towards the top end. In the case of this engine, the exhaust pressure is way higher than manifold pressure on the top end. So the effect of the exhaust cam or overlap and everything else is a little more pronounced on a turbo car due to the higher exhaust manifold back pressure. I'm not going to change intake because I want to see just the effect that the exhaust cam has and see how much more I need to put in here again. And I will again in the next pull. I'll probably make this 5 up another couple hundred RPM and see how the power curve changes shape. But first we're going to do this one step here. What else did I want to do? Oh, I wanted to reduce timing around 3,000 RPM. So what load is that? $3,500 RPM. Manifold at 10, so 24-ish relative, or absolute, I mean. Oh, but we're timing does, so it's calculated load, not manifold pressure. That is 2.3-ish. We're at 2.3. So we go 2.3 on the timing here, down in 3,000 range. I'm just going to grab it from 28 to 36. I'm going to pull 1.5 degrees out right there. I'm going to smooth that into the stuff above it, which is already a lot lower. And then I'm going to go to the left of that a little bit, the timing leading into that junction. I'm going to pull 1.5 degrees out of there too. Just going to make a little bit of a dip right there, more than I want to. This is a funny looking timing curve. I want to adjust that some more. Yeah, Travis. I mean, you stare at shit long enough, and your brain will make things happen. So, all right. So here we are. I got to flash this though, because again, I forgot to transfer the real-time shit to ethanol. And I know it's a super cool function that Cobb has that allows you to do that. I don't like using it. I've had a lot of issues with it, not transferring all the data, or not bringing it back, and then I leave and both tables are all freaking ethanol, or it completely eliminates the gasoline stuff. Like, and I know I have bad computer karma. Everyone that knows me knows that it doesn't matter how well the program is written. It doesn't matter how good the hardware is on the computer. If it belongs to me, it's going to cause problems. And I can hand it to somebody else, and they'll do the exact same keystrokes, and it won't be a problem. But as soon as my fingertip touches the keyboard, fucking all hell breaks loose. It's just God telling me that I should live off me. My stepdad says he'll have pretty soon. Yes, Travis, I am talking about the swap to this one. It's probably operator error. I am a fucking idiot. So. If this was Twitch, I'd say cook that. And then share all the rival tunes. see, he says he's an idiot too. No, I said no. I want an argument. Says the guy who asked me for help on the game. Not offended.
How's it working?
Good so far. Most parts better. That's good. Right now I'm adjusting cam timing as necessary. Try. Oh, there's that cylinder again. What kind of tricky cylinder that was?
Just max it out.
It loads out. It's loaded up. It's actually rich. It's a rich misfire. Super common on these cars on hot restarts, but it's only one cylinder for sure. So then you'll log that on the next start and see what cylinder it is and see if I can just tweak the injector speed. That's clear that one's falling a little bit more than the other ones. You guys hear wind noise from the fan blowing?
How are the intake temps?
Hot.
Hot?
Yeah, it's all hot. It's all hot and shitty.
Nice.
94 degrees on for ambient.
Oh,
And then my intake temps are like 120, 102 right now.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
Stock airbox is like 138.
Oh, depends on what's going on. Right?
Well, just yesterday.
Oh, gotcha. I'm trying to get this phone cool off. My phone's hot.
Turn the AC on.
Yeah, I know. I think I should do it. Recirculate. Hold on. Cool the phone off with the AC. Do they make streaming cameras? I mean, I know they make cameras, but they make streaming cameras. Like wireless, it's like this phone, basically, by the camera. Alright. Does that work? I've never done GoPro with Wi-Fi. I'd be interested in trying it. Well, power's identical. In that area that I was trying to address with the cam timings, looks like I was wrong. But the 20 improved power in the 4,000 to 5,000 or 5,500 range, where I added all into that range there. So it gained more power out there, but it did not gain more power on the top end. All right, well, now we know. And the fuel went a little on the richer side, which means a little bit less airflow into the chamber. So I'm bringing my exhaust back down to 17. I'm gonna add a few degrees intake to it on the top end there, over 6,500 RPM, and see how she behaves. And that was about 19 pounds of boost actually. I said 17, I was wrong, it was 19. Can't bitch about that though, that's pretty good. No engine noise or not. So maybe it was too aggressive. That's really bizarre. Or that's just one quiet pull out of the other ones. I'll do it again, see what happens. I'm not going to adjust timing in that low range at all. Boost is only, oh wow, look at that. Boost is only 15 pounds on the top there. So it's only spiked 20 for a second when it first came in. This shows 19.4, but it tapers to 14.6 by a red line. Basically use a fixed 20. So remember how high the waist you had to be before to hit the 28. It had to be in the 60s. So right now we're at 20. So, I think it's gonna be a good data point here once we get a little further in. So I'm gonna drop this back down to 17 up top. At 64 and over. And then I'm going to bump the intake AVCS up, not at 70, at 65 to 72. I'm going to add 5 from 6,000 and up. And then bring that down a little bit. So just add a few degrees, not a whole lot. I could theoretically grab 15 degrees back on it or something, but just a few degrees down there. But I'm going to taper this in a smidge more, like that. Like that. That's kind of an ugly looking curve. I'm not a big fan of how it looks, but you know, the thing about tuning is it doesn't have to be smooth necessarily to be good. There's a big misconception about that. VE isn't smooth. That's the big one, right? VMAPs aren't smooth, and cam timing directly affects VE, but VMAPs technically aren't smooth. They're not smooth on the factory engine. They shouldn't be smooth on your map. If they are, then you're over smoothing it, because engines have reversion and they have resonance. They have pulsations that happen in the intake and exhaust manifolds. That's why an exhaust will have something called the Helmholtz resonator, right? That affects how the sound waves bounce off each other inside the exhaust to cancel them out. Sorry, I'm multitasking and the other phone's ringing. Okay, I just want to be famous and be on stream, that's all. Donnie speaking. Good, how you doing? Okay. Well, this is Dominic. Yep, no problem. And the response time on an email, usually a day or two. When did you send it? A couple hours ago. Yeah, I'm on the dyno tuning right now, so. And have we talked already, or is this a first email? Ah, so obviously you're kind of worried about it. What happened to it? Sure, so it's got bigger injectors than your tune is set for. Which injectors does it have? From Arizona. Oh, I know the tuner in Arizona. He's actually watching my live stream right now, so he probably totally screwed you. No, I'm just kidding. He's watching the stream, so I'm giving him shit. But what year is it? 11 WRX. Okay. Yeah. So you need to find out what injectors are in that thing for one. Like, I can make you a base map or something until you can get tuned fully, but so that make the car drivable. But I need to know exactly what parts are in it. And if the parts are super shitty, then you're kind of SOL anyway. So. I mean, you can try and take pictures of it and see what's in there, but yeah, are you local or where you live? Oh, so that's local. I mean, we're from Liberty Lake right here, so. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, no, it's definitely up here. So, yeah, what I would do is call Tier 1 here in Liberty Lake and tell them you need to get inspected, but that doesn't help you much driving it here, right? You need to tow it or something if it's running that bad. So I wouldn't do that necessarily. Just open the hood, try and get a picture of the injector, and then email it to me. You know, a little side view of it, so I can see what color it is, and that tells me an idea of what it could be. And then what I can do is, for a fee, I can make you a map that'll make it so you can drive it over here, and then when we figure out all the stuff that's in it, then I can make you the whole map for it. But get you something safe to drive it. And it'll cost you, and it might cost you more than a tow truck, but it won't cost you more than a tow truck and a tune. So it'll save you the tow truck cost, right? Yeah, no problem. So just take a picture of the fuel injector if you can, and then a couple other under hood pictures showing which intake's on it, you know, and any mods that you can take pictures of, and send them to me in an email, and I'll look it over, and that should at least give me something where I can get you a limp map that's safe for the engine to get here and be fully inspected and figure out what's going on with it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're very welcome. You too. Bye. Oh, and go fuck your... I'm just kidding. That's not at all what I would say. All right, so guy bought a car, got it from Arizona, had mods on it, didn't realize it was highly modified, or not highly modified, modified different than he had anticipated. Got a COB export for it, flashed it with an OTS map. It overrode the maps that were on it, or the tune that was on it, and now the car runs like butt because it has larger injectors than the OTS tune is calibrated for. That actually happens a lot more frequently than you would imagine. It happens a lot. With open source being around, or with guys selling their married access ports on the internet, like it happens to a lot of people. So I am no stranger to that phone call. All right. This thing sounds good. Happened to me before. I knew anything about my car. Yeah, absolutely. For a lot of people, it's their first Subaru, their first turbocharged car, or you know, whatever. Sorry, I'm trying to cool the phone off with AC again because it's getting hot in my hand, and I got the over temperature warning just now, which means no stream, which means no results. Because once the stream's over, I gotta stop tuning this car. Just kidding. 417. 417 boost. Peaks at 18.9 and tapers to 15 by a red line. Yep, by a red line. And that's a 29% wastegate duty cycle, which is half of what it was before. I might need to add a bunch to it because it's not picking up a whole lot. Now, what's interesting about that though is I need to compare the boost because horsepower is quite a bit up. Let me boost up next. That was horsepower. Now we're going to bring up boost. Boost is about a pound higher to the range. Came in later. I was late on the throttle. Started the pull. I hit the limiter and stopped and looked at something. And then said, oh yeah, the pull's starting, I should give it full throttle. So I started the pull kind of late. You can see right here, the boost is about a pound higher, all the way to the red line. It's only about a pound, okay. But I did get 20-something horsepower of that pound, some of that being the cam timing, and some of that being the boost. The ignition advance is still the same. It's still in a highly retarded state versus last time it was tuned. I'll probably look up a log and see how much timing I ran on it before. See if I can get away with that again, just for the sheer comparison. Have the same timing, have the same everything, and just see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm just going to tune like I would normally, and then I'll check that last thing again. So more power everywhere, with 1 pound of boost, would make sense. All right. No surprises there. What I do have is a mass airflow, I'm sorry, the map sensor. It's a little wavy. I'm getting some good wiggles here out of this map sensor. I should probably zoom out so you guys can, see the screen on the dash bouncing. Oh, maybe that's gonna be a frame rate thing. With the car bouncing, it's an LED screen and the refresh rate of that with the phone and the shaking. That's gonna happen. I can look at something else during the polls. So I'm going to see if I have smoothing for the map sensor or the speed density calculations turned on or not. I tuned this one a while ago and I wasn't super active with the smoothing before, but yep, I got some smoothing on it. 0.6 comes at 1.0, and MAF is DC 0.125. So they really try to knock down the waves on the signal from the mass airflow sensor. So I'm going to change this a little bit. If you go too much of this though, you can delay tip-in and get different responses because it won't provide you an instantaneous change in manifold pressure when you're on speed density. So you gotta be careful with the smoothing. Don't go too crazy with it. It can definitely mess you up. Here's something that's interesting people may not know. In the naturally aspirated region, you actually pick up about 9% VE from sea level to about 11,000 plus feet. People don't realize that. You actually pick up VE. VE improves as you go up in elevation. Try and wrap your head around that for a while. And after it's exploded, put it back together again and send me an email and I'll explain to you why that is. The volumetric efficiency improves with elevation. People are going to say, fuck you, you're wrong. But what you'll see here though is I have it pulling here, and at the other end, it goes down when you go lower in altitude. As you go to sea level, VE goes down, and you'll see here I have it actually higher up here too. So it's not the same for the turbo region, for the boosted region, but for an NA non-boosted region, you do improve VE as you go up in elevation. And if you want to know why, shoot me an email or come to the Discord channel and we will talk about it. I'll explain to you in painful detail why that is. Let's check out some of this shit, so I'll make sure they're running all right. Alright. I'm going to start adding fuel up top since it's been lean now for a few polls. Not dangerously lean, but just leaner than target. I'm going to add some D up top. Looks like right at 55 it starts to lean out some, and that makes sense. You can see this curve is dipping pretty hard at 55. The old can was a lot smaller than this one, and that is apparent in this. You can see how hard the VE is falling on the old tune, and we can see on the dyno graph, or I'm sorry, on the air fuel trace, that is also the case. So I'm going to bump the VE up a few percent as it approaches red line. I don't want to go too crazy with it though, 'cause it's not dangerous right now, just a little leaner than I want it. And I want to have my fuel match my target pretty much just identically, because that makes sense, right? So even though it's not out of a desirable area, it still is something that I want to get closer to ideal. So now I'm going to add a little more wastegate duty cycle on the red line side, and I'm going to taper that in because we're seeing it's peaking and then falling off. So that's that shape we were talking about earlier when I said I want to start adjusting the shape. So I'm going to increase it towards red line. And if we look at the old map, sure enough, whoops, that's not it. The old tune, I left one table from the old tune to give me an idea of what was going on. I left on the low table, so it had very little effect. But you see I had a lot of requests, and then I dropped way down for the spike because it was peaking really quickly, and I had to tape back in really fast. It kind of gave kind of a weird curve, as you can see here, but that's what I had to do to make the boost somewhat controllable on that setup, and to try and keep it not just flat, but I also try to get a little more towards red line because he was on stock sleeves and everything. I don't want to start lifting heads like crazy. So do the same here. We're going to bring this up a few, and taper that into 46. Then grab this whole zone. I'll pick this up, and then we will do some more poles. And then eventually, when I find the curve the way I want it, then I will extrapolate what I need to other areas based on my boost target and all of that. But you know, this is a multiple step process, especially when you're dealing with both reflashable or reflash maps and real-time maps. I'm going to copy that one to the other one, and then we'll pull some out of it. It's kind of funny. Sometimes they do. It's just the way it is. Alright, so we've got more boost. I haven't adjusted my cam timing any to that last pole, and I think I'm going to. Intake. I want 72 to be 0. This is the pump gas side of it. So let's go back to the ethanol side of it. I want 72 to be 0 like that. That. And I want a little more right here. I think that they'll benefit from that. Not too much. We'll see. We'll see. Post start was good. I haven't had any more misses, so those were good. My boost limits, 32 pounds there, so that's good. Okay, 22 pounds on pump. It's not a bad ride. And 25, my current target there. So I know where the ECU is going to stop looking for boost. I might have a little high right here. I might subject myself to some integral windup. If you look at the RPM here, there's no chance I'm getting 30 at 3,000 RPM, 22 pounds of boost. So that's probably a little aggressive. This should probably be like 4,000 RPM or so. And so what will happen is you get what's called an integral windup, where the boost control, if you give it enough authority, will keep adding basically duty cycle to it, and then you have going too much duty cycle, which then makes you blow through your target, and you get big spikes. So that's a little off. I'm gonna pump that up some. Thanks, Mark. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully work or whatever you're doing doesn't suck too bad. And he's got to drop. It's a little closer to what the boost curve is going to look like. At about the approximate RPM that it would happen. Double check pump gas. Good, it went up with it. Alright, cool. That one, however, needs a little tweak. Maybe a little more than that. There. There we go. Alright. Okay. Check my blending ratios real quick. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, pretty aggressive there. Yeah. Okay. Never did raise these. Let's go up. Up. Something I do that nobody else does. Minus 100 on the fuel correction. Yeah.
I just put a stock boost controller back on Connor's car.
That's the best way to do it, man.
That's what I figured.
Does it have all the restrictors and everything in the lines? Okay.
Yeah, I had all factory stuff, so.
Perfect. Nice.
I'm gonna let you know.
Thank you. All right. So far what we've seen is that I'm trying to zoom out here. So far we've seen is that we had to add fuel up top, which means short answer is yes, it appears that the big cams can outflow the small cams with the porting, but that's at this power level so far. That may change each on the power level. We may choke the port out and not be able to make as much power, but at this level, and at this boost level and this horsepower level, we actually had to add fuel because we were doing better than the previous ported head and medium-sized cam. So the short answer is yes, but whether or not that's going to hold true up into the high power range is yet to be seen. That's what we're doing right now. I gotta flash this car, so I gotta flash this car since I did things that were both real-time and reflash based. And then we'll do some more polls, add some more boost, and have more fun. I wish I was a better host. I wish I could be more animated or have a more interesting voice or something for you guys, but that's all I got. I can start doing it naked. That might be something. Do the tunes naked. I'm sure that'd get all kinds of viewers. It would turn the channel into strictly a comedy channel. She's gonna blow. How much battery do I have left? Not a ton. Luckily I have my backup phone. How much battery does it have left? Ooh, that's a bummer. Probably should have plugged that one in. Still a little rich on the post start. 11.4 is a little on the rich side. It's not misfiring though, but I'm sure it's close. I'm trying to figure out exactly where I am on the tables right now, so I know what to adjust. Right here. So this is 69. This is kind of a high idle setting here. I'm gonna lower it down a little bit, because that should help. Zone is that cold start, high idle. So Nick, to talk about that, what about the pressure feeding the engine? I mean, that goes down too, right? So isn't the same pressure felt on both sides of the engine? Why would it matter if the same pressure is felt on both sides of the engine? I don't know if you guys are watching chat or not, so maybe I should read that real quick. Nick asked, is the VE at altitude thing partially a result of decreased pressure on the exhaust, allowing for better exhaust scavenging? Not sure that's the right term. And thus retained or less retained exhaust gas. And so if you retain less exhaust gas, you also retain more intake air charge that we're talking about. Tattoo my face. Oh, that'll work, yeah. So my response to that is, well, what about the fact that the same pressure is feeding the engine as you're trying to discharge into? I mean, if that's the same, then what's going on? Sorry, I'm doing some tweaks to the map that I remembered I wanted to do before. I'm just doing them really quick. They're pretty small. There's some cam timing tweaks in the cruise region that I wanted to get and I didn't do before. Just wanted to change that that low end like I was telling you guys about before. I thought I had too much cam timing on it. Alright, let's do a pull. Sport Sharp, that would help. Did I have Sport Sharp last time? I don't know. Set my boost on the screen. Everything is active. Look at this. Why is that? Why is that doing that? Why is that 22, but I got 14 here? It's supposed to be that way. That's a hint. It's supposed to be that way. The question to you is why? Can you tell me why that is? I can tell you why. But I'll give you a second to think about it. Why is commanded fuel? Why is the ECU telling the engine, or why is the ECU commanding an AFR of 21 This engine wouldn't even run at 21. If you put it at 21, it would misfire. It wouldn't even fucking run. It'd probably just shut down. EJ does not have a wide flammability window. An EJ cannot actually run. The camera will not turn around. Turn around. There you go. An EJ will not run at 21 to 1 AFR. It can't. It can't do it. It barely runs at 16 AFR. So why is the ECU saying 21 is the command? What does that mean? If the commanded fuel is 21, what does that mean? Answer that in the chat, and I will let you ponder that for a few minutes, and then I'll fill you in on what that means. I got the hiccup again. Something's funny. I'm gonna pause it and throttle some, but huh? That is weird. It's so random. Just while driving, my tipping is not aggressive at all, really. It might be not aggressive enough, honestly. Let's see, what is it in flex fuel? Fuel table is a B. So for B, tip in. Ain't that aggressive. For 1300s, ain't that aggressive. I might need to tweak that wall weighting again. And Travis, you can't answer. So if you're punching in your freaking answer right now, being like, I'm gonna show everyone on the internet how smart I am. Nope, that's reserved for me. You can't answer. All right, here we go. I need power. Oh man, this power curve is nice. I'm a fan. I am a fan. $460. And I added a lot of fuel, as you can see. Some of that is in that we went to a higher spot in the VE map, and some of that is what I added on the VE map. You can see that it didn't taper up again as high like previous ones. I added fuel up top, so it didn't have that fading trend there. But also, you see it's rich over here where I didn't add fuel. That's just because we went further right on the VE table, and we had a richer target due to the increase in load. But 459, that ain't bad. That says 23 pounds on the dash, so we hit 23 PSI, but where is that 23 PSI? So let's bring that up. Oops, come on. Wow, that boost curve is so much better than before. Holy shit. Oh, you guys haven't seen it before, have you? I totally fucking spaced that part. I need to show you guys before, but wow, that is that's gonna be nice. It's gonna be a lot of fun. That is a, look at that. 43, 23 pounds-ish by 4,300. I'll take that. I got a little more than that at 5,000. It catches nicely. It has a nice taper to it right there. Sounds like he fucking bought a cheap MAF sensor, non-OEM is what it sounds like. A lot of you guys buy cheap MAF sensors. In fact, you should, if that is the case, send him my video called Enough with the Cheap MAF Sensors, or Don't Buy Cheap MAF Sensors, You Cheap Bastards, or oh, don't buy aftermarket MAF sensors, you cheap bastards. That's what it was. Nope, OEM. Oh, does he have a Cobb fucking filter on it? He probably has the filter on wrong. A lot of the guys push the air filter on too far. They push the filter on too far, then it totally screws up the airflow to the mass airflow sensor. Also, the expansion harness, extension harness for the mass airflow sensor. Those pins often get water in them and degrade and rust like crazy, and then cause all kinds of problems. So your friend's issue could very well be the extension harness for the mass airflow sensor. Put the AC on, it's fucking hot as balls. For the mass airflow sensor or something along those lines. I got a knock event again, same RPM, 3,500. 3,500, 11 pounds of boost, 12 pounds of boost, 16 degrees of timing. Man, that should not be too much. It shouldn't be. It should not be too much. Look at that. At peak boost, I only have 8 degrees of timing on this thing. I'm gonna turn this shit up. Once I see if I can fix this. I'm gonna add timing through here though. Like on ethanol, I can run a lot more timing than that and get a lot more power. So that's gonna be a good time. I mean, 23 pounds of boost, 8 degrees, that's pump gas numbers right there. That's pump gas timing numbers. So if I'm running pump gas timing numbers on this ethanol right now, imagine when I add the extra 3 degrees or so to it because it's ethanol. That's something I want to see actually. I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty good. A horsepower curve, double check the curve again. See if I need to do more cam timing adjustments. Boost has a slight downward taper, very slight, which is fine, it's expected. Horsepower is climbing. I got 2 things on here, let me see. Here at all these lines. Readjust my arm. Horsepower is peaking at 68 to 7, still falling off a little bit. Although I'm running it higher than the dyno says I am, so either the tire's growing or shrinking, or I have the dyno calibration set off a smidge. It could be off a little bit because I'm running out to like 75, 76 on here. This only shows 73, so that RPM might be off a little bit. It's still leaning out though. It's still leaning towards redline instead of staying the same richer AFR. So I'm definitely pulling more air than before. My horsepower doesn't necessarily show it, but it's hot as balls right now and I got no timing on it. So once I fix the timing and if I can only bring the temperature down some, I think that we'd be making more than before, if not the same, with way faster spool. Let's bring that up now. Let's bring up the old shit. So you're fine. Need both hands for this part though. So here is the ceiling. Woo! Check out that ceiling. Those sunglasses up there, shit's hot. Alright, let me pull up the old graph really quick. It's one of these. All right, where'd it go? it just slid its way down. That's funny. Ah. All right. Check out this old graph though. Look at that power. Look how much more there is through this region right here. Obviously, like I said, more boost and more timing. Fat, right? But see, it's petering off sooner than this one is. So we'll see what happens when I start getting to these levels. I brought the correction factor for weather for the dyno because that's important. We're about the same. The correction factor is almost identical from last time it was here. So that's good news. I don't gotta deal with like, oh, I wonder what the correction factor was last time. Oh, it's gonna fuck everything up. Boost. Boost, like before, it had kind of weird curve. It starts off later and lower. Obviously, I had a higher target then. Crossed up. It didn't peak though until almost 55, 53, 50-ish. The boost peaked. That's late, right? That's a long time. And then it tapered pretty hard again to a red line. This right now at 23, it comes in quite a few PSI earlier, or quite a few PSI earlier in the RPM band. I mean, that's, what was that, 3 pounds? 10, 5, around 3 pounds-ish. Just less than 3 pounds. More at 3,500, more at 4,000. And I'm not even asking the wastegate for all the shit yet. So I like that. I like this gain that we have through here. I like it a lot. That's Lane's shirt. What's up, boss?
How's it going?
Well, it's going well.
Good.
My phone's almost dead. I'm not anywhere close to being done. That's not true. I'm getting pretty close, actually. 23 pounds. I'm at 460. It's coming in sooner, flatter. It runs better.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with it.
The beans.
You got any cooling mods at home?
Yes.
Can we have some?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I got to put them together, but I have all the stuff now. So.
Yeah, we got it each one, so
Okay.
we got to fit that one when you bring it down the call.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Hey, see right here, look at right there. Same air-fuel ratios, and I added to the VE map. And then look, the new one goes leaner through here than before. So we're really starting to move some air up here. But I don't know if I'm going to get 70 wheel in this 4 PSI or not. I mean, time makes a big difference. So I'll find out when I add the timing to it. But am I going to get that much? I don't know. I don't know. My coworker's a cat. She doesn't care. That's fine. V is describing volume but not density. If the air is less dense, there is less resistance against the turbo blades. There are fewer air molecules and saps less energy. You're backwards there, because what I showed was in the boosted region with force reduction and turbo, you lose it with altitude. Only NA do you gain it. So you're backwards on that. Because the air is less dense, you have to turn the blade more times to get the same mass of air. So to turn the blade more times, you need more dry pressure to do so. Becomes more efficient than the CFM. I mean, I know turbos can spin it faster, so that makes sense. They don't. It's not they can spin faster. They say that they have to spin faster. You know, that altitude has no effect on what RPM the turbo is capable of operating. The RPM that's capable of operating is solely a function of centrifugal force trying to tear the wheel apart. Compressor maps are often efficient for the compressor long after the compressor itself would blow itself to bits. So if you look at like the Garrett compressor maps, it has this nice curve going up and then it's just truncated, right? It's like it had a nice shape and they cut some of it off. That's because that RPM, something's gonna fail. Either the compressor is gonna blow apart or they're limiting it based on the turbine that's attached to it. The way to know that is to look at a turbo like the 3076 and then the 3576 and see if that peak speed is different. That peak speed is faster on the 3076, the limit is actually the turbine wheel. If the peak speed is the same on both of those, then that means the limit is most likely the compressor wheel. Alright, well, more wastegate duty, right? Trying to get to the same boost I had before. And then try and get near the same timing I had before. And see what she outputs. That's interesting. That was a very not American inflection in the word. accenting the last syllable of a word is not how Americans usually say things like that. So all I'm doing here at this point, I'm just adding wastegate duty cycle. Add wastegate duty cycle and see where she goes. I have my target boost set, exact same target value as before. I did alter that a smidge with RPM, but I didn't change the peak target or what's the target at redline. So that's going to be the same. So that'll give us some apples to apples comparison at the end. Again, I got to find the old log though, and then see how much timing I ran on it before.
What size turbo did you order for your RS again?
Which one do I have at home?
The G series.
Yeah, I get the 35900.
We had a G series compressor coming, but it's not yours. I was hoping it was.
I have mine at home.
Oh, we got 770 on the shelf though.
Oh, 3770. I like that turbo.
I think it's going on Zach's blue Lala. Sweet.
That'll be a fast fucking blow by. Dude, the G3770 is such a sweet turbo.
I think he's doing that with our signature block.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Our rotated kit.
And I got the 900, and I think the 900 with the 8 whatever spool or air housing I have on the turbine, I think it's going to be pretty responsive. I know that the 900 or the 1050, people are complaining about the response being really shitty, but almost all the tests I see, they're running big air housings on it, which is going to be shitty. Yeah, so and really that it's only a 76 mil exducer on the 1050, which is stupid because this turbo is a 76 mil exducer on there, but the inducer's a lot bigger. It's like 4-6 millimeters larger on it, so it should be a responsive turbo. You know, by the numbers, by everything, it should be a responsive turbo. I think people are just sizing it wrong. That's what I think.
Right.
You know, so I think on your car it's gonna be pretty good, especially with the A2.
Yeah.
And the turbo really close to the manifold.
Yep.
Or to the header, obviously close to the manifold.
Right.
Both to the fucking manifold, but close to the header. Or
Yeah,
head.
they don't have big long runners.
Yeah, exactly. Less volume, the better. And so on my car, I'm gonna put my single scroll kit back on it. I'm gonna use the parent header, not the NVIDIA header I had on it before. Although it did good with the agency power header, not NVIDIA header. And let's see how it does on that. And then the engine's coming out and the fucking H6 is going in.
With that turbo?
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
I think the G35 on 3 liters.
It'd be a monster in the 3 liters.
I think it's gonna fucking rip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Cool.
And maybe I'll put on the Pike speed car. Right now the plan was just run the 7670, but I mean, we set the all-wheel drive super record in the Pike Speed street class with a Dom 1.5. And so far, nobody has been able to come within 40 seconds of that in an all-wheel drive Subaru. So with the Dom 1.5, we did it. And so I want to do it again and not a gigantic turbo. Bigger than Dom 1.5. So I think the 7670 would be a cool turbo to do it in, to do it with, but I just don't like that turbo that much. It's okay, but the more I use other turbos, the less I like that one. It's already 4:30. Fuck, I had to miss the guy's car. I'll probably take this up to 9 and finish it later.
Saw, dude.
I think I gotta take this out the dyno.
Why is that?
Well, because the other guy's been here for so fucking long.
Oh.
You know, like Josh is staying tonight, so I can finish this up. I'm gonna try and do like 2 more pulls and see if I can get it close to where it was before.
Okay, honk at me and I'll come unstrap it.
Okay. And let him know that I'm gonna take off. Let him know I'm just gonna be finished it real soon. I feel bad that he's waiting the whole time. second. Hoping this comes down some. It's still so high. It's going up. I was hoping that would help. It didn't. Out of fuel.
What you need? Loosen the straps a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I ran out of fuel.
Saw that. I heard it at the end. Pop, pop.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was going that lean. I was looking at the other stuff. I should look at that. I did not anticipate that happening. How did I run out of fuel already? Doesn't make sense. I got a higher pressure. Boy, I got no timing on this thing. 9 degrees. Yeah, that pop was at cutting fuel. I have it set to cut fuel if it gets too lean. Oh, fuck, I'm not logging this. Thought I was. Well, shitballs. I'm moving more air to the point where I'm out of fuel. That's crazy. That was not an issue before. Huh. All right. Well, I'm gonna add some timing to it. Let me look for the old log first. Add some timing to it, and then I'm going to log the differential fuel pressure. I know that seems like a bad idea. Right here I am going, oh, I'm gonna fucking run out of fuel. Let's add timing. But I'm gonna watch that pressure this time more closely, and if it starts to fall, I'm gonna bail. But I also want to see where this bitch is going. All right. So it was December. See.
You want me to unstrap it?
No, yeah, I'm gonna do one more pull though.
One more? Okay.
Yeah, what is what is the date of his last tune? I want the date, because I want to log it really quick. So down here the date changes to like 12 something or something like that. 12/9/19? Okay. So we'll bring my logs up for 12/9/19 and pull up his 12/9/19. Here we go. Josh, flex fuel, all the boost. That's it. That's the old one. Fuel pressure differential. Was it falling then? No, it was rock steady through the whole pull. All the fuel pressure differential. All right. Timing. The lowest they got was 15 and a half. No, there we go. There's the pull. Okay. 12. And then, wait, what's going on here? I'm confused. the RPM? Oh, that's not the pole. Oh, there it is. There it is. I found it. Stop looking, I found it. Right here. So it went down to 12, up to 22 and a half. Okay? Where am I at now? Now I am down to 7.5, 7. Up to 20. See, I let off right here. 20. So 2 up top and a bunch in the middle. I'm not going to add a bunch in the middle because there's no point in doing that. I'm going to put a little bit in the higher range, just to do 2 degrees up here. And see what 2 degrees gets me for power output, provided the fuel pressure holds on. I should log it this time though. My dumb ass didn't log it. F. Let's do injector duty cycle. Injector duty cycle. Usually when you have big injectors, I don't even got to worry about that shit. You're not even paying attention to what that's going to be. Oh, I wonder if the fuel's too hot. I didn't even think about that. As hot as it is right now, but that fuel's too freaking hot. Okay, so add the timing. I pulled a bunch out this earlier when I did the first pull. So here it is here. You can see I got a lot coming out of it. So I want 2. So 0. Right there. Okay. Huh. Can that 5 pounds of fuel pressure be too much? I mean, I raised it to 50 psi base. 50 psi plus 25, we're at 75 pounds of pressure. And depending on which fuel pump this is, some of the Walbros tank after 75 psi. So I could very well be crossing that threshold where the fuel pressure drops like a rock. Or I got a problem. I never showed you guys the surge tank. This thing has something I thought of when I was at Turning Concepts. When I was there, I was looking at the car one day and I was like, you know what? There's no oil pipes on the GR 6-speed. And there's all these holes on the side, all these bosses on the side. I said, we could put a fucking surge tank right here on the transmission. We could use the air pump relay to control the fuel and the lines, right? Cut the wires off the air pump, run that big ass plug and those 2 big wires to the fuel pump and that surge tank. Use the air pump relay, just run the wire to control the relay from the factory fuel pump. And put a surge tank right there. Factory lines from the tank go right to the surge tank. Surge tank lines go right to the engine. It is such a clean install. It looks fucking great. It works really good. It uses existing wiring that's rated at over 60 amps for the air pump. That's what we did. So on this car, we built the bracket, mounted a Radian single pump surge tank inside the transmission, and used the air pump wiring. Looks great. Hardly any extra shit. You know, you do a surge tank in the back, and it's a fucking mess, right? There's hoses everywhere and wires everywhere, and you're trying to, where do I put it? There's trunk space, and you got fittings coming in and out of the top of the fuel tank, or you got hoses right back there. None of that shit. It's bolted to the side of the transmission. Air coming in the scoop, goes right over the surge tank, helps cool the fuel. The hoses and everything are factory hoses, almost all the way to the surge tank, and then from there to the fuel rails. There's not a bunch of shit running around the engine bay. It's super clean. I mean, you can't even tell. Let's just be honest. I'll show you. Position. Place. Yes. 10 seconds. Woo, it's just fucking hot out here. So looking in the engine bay, you can't tell shit, right? The factory lines go down through there. Try to see the surge tank. I can't see it. It's too perfect. 8.8. This thing. Did you say you don't like the 7670? Kind of. What I said was, the more I use other turbos, the less I like the 7670. That's what I said. And there's a difference there between those two statements. A little rich in the post there still. Gotta tweak that some more. I really thought I had it. Thought I had it! Fuel just goes away to nothing really fast.
Run out of fuel quick.
Yeah. As a quick test, could you get an Allen wrench and lower the fuel pressure 5 pounds? I don't think it's gonna fix it, but you got that same knock event at 3,500 I've had the entire time, regardless of whatever I do in that region. Injector duty cycle, as it's trying to compensate. It starts off at 73 as pressure starts dropping. and then immediately goes over 100 and then cuts. Timing was only 8 degrees again. Huh, I thought I added time in there. Maybe I didn't add enough. Maybe it's just the intake air temp. And when the pulse stopped, it was at 14 to 16 degrees. So I can't get a good representation of power. I'm ready. Are you going down? Keep going.
Like actual lower pressure, right?
Yep. So make the shaft longer. Yeah. Okay. There's good. What do you mean? Oh yeah, a little bit. That'd be great. Did you loosen the back strap a little bit already?
Huh?
Did you loosen the back strap a little bit already?
Yeah, do you want me to?
Yeah, a little bit if you would, please. All right, with the intercooler up, get some more, or the fans up, get more cooling. All right, I need to get this pull done. So I can tune this 280Z. It's actually pretty cool. This guy's got a 280, I forget what year it is, 70 something. And it's got a mega squirt in it. It's done really, really nice. I may have streamed it once in a previous stream, but it's done really, really nice.
See where that fits you.
Okay. No, there's no fuel. There's no fuel. I wonder if it's overheating. I wonder if the fuel's overheating. I'm concerned maybe the tank is too hot and the fuel's vaporizing.
Possible.
Yeah.
It is.
It's hot as balls out there.
Faster than gas.
No, it does slower actually. I mean, it's less volatile than gasoline. That's why it has a lower radiator pressure than gasoline. That's why it's hard to start when it's cold.
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff. But
Where's the fuel pressure at now?
45 and change. Well, fuck.
What?
Well, I'm streaming this video this whole time so people can see the difference at the end, and I can't do it. It ran out of, the fuel's not working anymore. I know the fuel pump's bad, it clogs, but as you see, it starts good and then it goes bloop and just leans out. So that sucks.
Literally dips out instantly. It's not like it.
Yeah, it's like the tank's run out of fuel, but it can't be because it's a liter. We're not using a liter by 5,000 RPM. Like, that's just not happening. So
Pump in the surge tank, right?
the pump in the surge tank, right?
Just one with the tank, obviously.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it is running out, or the pump is just taxed. Both seem weird because, like, this pump in the tank pumps into the surge tank, and the surge tank is slightly pressurized, usually like 15 pounds to 20 pounds in the surge tank. So it's less likely to vaporize at the suction of the high pressure pump. But it ain't working. So is the high pressure pump taking a shit? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know either. We know the fuel pressure is dropping. That's all we know. Fuck! Let's get it off. Let's get it off. We gotta take it off so I can get the other car done. Let me save this. Save. Well, that is a fucking bummer. For those that stuck around through the whole 2 hours and 56 minutes, kudos to you. And I appreciate it greatly. Unfortunately, I can't fucking give you an answer yet. Because we ran out of fuel. And it's bad. And look at my desk is a fucking mess. And so I don't know what to answer to give you. It sucks. Well, the 8474 flows way more than the 7670. 8474 is a fucking flowing mamma jamma. It's a pretty sweet turbo, honestly. It flows a ton and it does it fast. My friend Anton has one on his car. He had the 8374 and went to 8474 and it only spooled like 200 RPM later. That was it. But it adds like another 100 horse. So I would say, hell yeah, an 8474. Like, that's a great turbo. I definitely would run an 8474 if I was gonna stay twin scroll. That's the turbo I would run if I was staying twin scroll. But I love these G series turbos so much now. They're just so cool. I want to really give this 900 a shot, see how it is. And it might suck. You know what I mean? Like, it may be the laggiest piece of shit that I've ever put on my car. But I don't know that yet. I won't know that until I mess with it. Fudge. Well, now I gotta take the straps off. That's what we're doing. We're taking the car off the dyno. I got this 280Z on here. It's already almost closing time. Poor dude's been very patient for 2 hours waiting for me to tune this other car, and then I can't even finish it. The owner of this car flew in this morning from Seattle. So now we gotta figure out what the fuck do we do? I think it's gonna be just hot fuel. At least I'm hoping it's just hot fuel. And if it's just hot fuel, then letting it cool off will fix it. And if we have more ethanol?
I think that one's ethanol too.
This is ethanol here?
Pretty sure.
All right, well, after we get the radiator changed, are we doing that today?
Yeah.
You kind of have to, huh? Then that'll give the fuel time to cool. We'll dump some more ethanol in it, and that'll bring the fuel temps down. And if fuel pressure comes back, then we know it was too hot. The 15s don't have a fuel pressure, a fuel temperature sender in them like the older GRs did. I think they stopped that in like 14 or something, 13 or 14. So I don't know what fuel temp is. My guess is it's hot as balls. Big sweaty balls sitting in the desert on a camel, probably hot. Sometimes I laugh at expressions that we use. Oh, fuck, my arm. The arm that had the surgery is killing me. I really hope this thing would heal faster, honestly. I think I should just reiterate there, Matt, that the 8474 was 200 RPM slower than the 8374. Not the 7670, but the 8374 wasn't really that much slower than 7670 to begin with. It's a few hundred RPM. What's dragging there? Oh, it's the mud flaps. I fucking hate mud flaps. It's a car, it's not a truck. Ouch.
It's weird. I think it is temp like you said, because Richard's car, when the regulator is bad,
Yeah.
it just instantly lost pressure. That's where this takes it a few thousand RPM.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think the regulator's bad by any stretch.
Oh no, I don't think it's.
Yeah.
Also, there's plenty more of that air motor was like perfectly clean inside.
What do you mean?
That air motor fuel pressure regulator that was bad on his,
Uh-huh. Oh, I still think that one was bad.
It's perfect. Looks brand new on the inside.
Yeah, but the ball and seat may not be seated perfectly.
Here, look.
They look nice.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. All right, let me get this 280 here. Hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Sorry to keep you waiting so damn long.
It's all right. Figured swing shift. That's it. The keys are in it.
Oh, there it is.
It's been pretty unhappy. As soon as I hooked up that throttle air control valve,
Uh-huh.
it was unhappy. And then we.
What do you mean?
It just ran. Okay, so then we wanted to make sure that it was working.
Uh-huh.
It was going. So when I turned the computer on, and we were just manually cycling it, it said for MS3. This car ran so rich, we had to go back. Reload your tune back in it.
Okay.
So, and then I lowered the, I think we're at 40 PSI on the. Okay, and I just put temporary hosing and stuff, and I'll change it later, but I got it, so.
This guy right here?
That's it. It's right there.
It's 2-wire?
2-wire.
Okay, so you got power and then ECU?
Correct.
Okay.
It's all coming from the ECU. And what I did is I just cycled it in there and just put my finger and had a click, so I know it's.
Where's it coming from? Oh, I see right from. Oh, I see right here.
Yeah.
It's right there, in, and then in. Okay.
I think that's correct, right?
Yeah, that's good.
And now it's it just once it got hot, it just starting it. It leans out when you first start it.
Okay.
And I was always done that. I don't know if that's something with the machine with
When it's cold or when it's warm?
warm or cold. It always goes to. It starts up at like 12 or 13 according to my gauge in there. Then it goes with after about 3 seconds it goes to 16, and then it drops back for about 2 or 3 seconds. Then it goes back to like. And it's done that since. But now, like you get on the freeway, anything. If I put my foot into it at all, it's accepting anything I give it now. So.
But before it wasn't. Before it was running lean.
Before, I always thought I was hitting a turbo limit, and you were saying it was running a lean limit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem to be doing any of that at all.
So does it drive okay up there then when you're in boost?
Oh, yeah. I'm driving. Oh yeah, it drives great. I mean, it's like seems like it's got a lot of power.
So where do you have the problems at? You have the problem on post start, and where's the other problem?
So just on startup, and that's really it. I mean,
We said it was unhappy, so.
well, right now it's unhappy. Pretty much starting.
Okay.
When you go to start it,
Mhm.
it idles up at 2,000 RPMs.
Sure. Okay.
And so what I was thinking about is I was just going to throw 2 plugs and put it back the way it was when I brought it out, and I said, it ain't going to hurt it to run it at 2,000 idle.
So that's where it's idling right now.
Yeah, right now it'll just run up at 2,000.
Okay. And then, what did you guys set the duties this at?
We did nothing to it. We just put it in.
So it's just open right now, as far as you know, or do you know?
All we did is trigger to make sure it worked. So I didn't do anything. I just made sure that it was communicating with MS3, and that I didn't do anything else.
Okay.
Because I don't know how it functions really.
Sure. Sure.
So it could be that it's wide open, and maybe that's why it's.
It could be.
So high.
Yeah. It could definitely be that, or something else is snagged up. Because there's nothing else that would cause it to be high RPM. Other
No,
than
because
a vacuum
before,
leak or more throttle. You know, like is this thing fully closed? Is the idle control, not tripping? Is the TPS past the idle limit or something like that?
Right.
No. So okay.
Oh yeah, because this has when I put this in, this way back when, it's got a variable throttle positioning sensor.
Mhm.
This will actually spin,
Mhm.
I think, and I set it where and there's that single screw right there, I think,
Mhm.
that it pivots on, I believe. But that was something off of Z-Mark that I
Sure.
found.
Yeah. Makes sense. If you have an ECU where you can't set TPS based on voltage, then that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a problem. That's no big deal at all. Works great.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Face.
Oh, it's a bowling club. That was burnt.
When I had the hood off, I put a chip in it, and I didn't want water getting inside it.
Makes sense. Are you pulling this on the dyno right now?
Yep. Not that I know of. Yeah, like on the schedule.
I know he's not on the schedule. That's what I was worried. He's like, I just got off work. I want to come here. No. And I said, did Dom tell you he was tuning it?